is having seen growing up all these planners in my household, really cool vibe, like just the overall aesthetic, the sensory experience of having a planner. And I feel like with an app like Structured, for me, because it's so personal and very custom in the way that you can plan, I do have routines within my planner, but I wouldn't consider myself a big time blocker. I keep a sleep routine for the week, but on the weekends I let it go. I keep my lunch and dinner routines intact because we've got things around lunch and dinner that we attend, whether they're virtual, whether they're just shows, whether they're movies, or whether they're outings that are important to me for lunch and dinner. And then breakfast, I tend to go with the feel of the week, the day, and I have smaller routines for that, not as routine, but it works. And then when it comes to things that we don't really talk about in a planner, we tend to go with apps. Either they have this feature or they don't. Instead of designing it yourself, what I do is I use Structured AI not only to manage and organize the planner, which I love, I also use it to journal and backtrack in my planner milestones. I've journaled about budgeting, I've journaled about special memories with my family, I've journaled about places that I would go at the last minute and reasons for doing that. I've journaled about all kinds of different things. And what I love about an app like Structured is they're not focused solely on teams, but you can integrate everything that you would do in a team. Like I do have meetings with other people, and my calendar from Google and Apple integrates that into Structured. So everything that you're involved in with a team or location, a map, or a call, or anything to do, I work with multiple groups, whether it's a team within my family, whether it's a team within the things that we do for a community, etc., right? And so that's been really fun. I'm kind of reiterating this because I think it's really cool to think about systems differently and more personalized with something like Structured. And so I've talked to you guys about this on my playlist over on my podcast on Spotify. If you really want to systemize your life and you're just interested in the playlist, you don't want to get into deeply into my story, you don't really have the time to put into going sort of following a journey, but you really want the system and the scenarios that I use, I would definitely recommend to go on Spotify, type in Structured and Structured Daily Planner app. The planner app for an unpredictable life should come up. I've been having a lot of fun creating musicals on that playlist around the Structured blog, because they do teach over on their blog about health. A lot of health integration is integrated into the planner. I've learned about energy tracking, which has become extremely important and has connected my understanding of time as sort of from a perspective of like a spiritual perspective. I love time, but in a way that's not naggy or nudgy, but in more of a way that's like understanding what is time. How did we come up with time? How does time connect to each of us? How does time connect all of us? And with Apple Reminders, I can track my phone calls into Structured. I can track any integration that Apple opens up in Reminders, which they've opened up Reminders quite a bit. I really got to give Apple credit on the software side. They've really opened up Reminders to integrate with the Structured Planner and other apps. So it's kind of really enjoyable to do, especially with phone calls or links or emails or anything. And then having my planner on my home screen right there, on my lock screen right there, and using my Google Calendar and Apple Reminders and any kind of notes I can have my notes section in Structured, my inbox for my projects long term and thoughts and everything like that, and Structured AI to allow me to add more integrations on a deeper level. Anything that I paste from a text message, a long thread of text messages I've done into my planner and have it organize the entire schedule between a text conversation with me and somebody, and emails, same thing, photos of actual like paper planners and wall calendars and things that people use out in the world. My own, I've been able to take Structured AI and journal and completely brain dump, and have everything integrate into the planner. And I've really started to see how essential over the years. I've really tried to think, is this just an obsession? Is this just some sort of fascination? And I'm like, no, not really, because now that I've put actual routines in real life into place in a way that's set up, none of this has ever been an obsession that is a fad or anything like that. I've always loved life design with planners and all this kind of stuff. Since I was around 8, I've gotten very serious. Just being a kid, really watching people growing up in my household really systemizing and organizing their file folders, notebooks, and actually have these little leather planners that you would buy. And I've really wanted a system like that was accessible, that I can do. And I've been wanting that since I was real little. And then, integrating with Grok is really cool because you can take your conversations and integrate them into Structured and track them and plan to link into them and go deep into them in a routine, or just backtrack that you had that conversation in Grok and that experience in Grok and backtrack that and put that into Structured AI. Not only the conversation, but anything that Grok wants to share with you, you can paste into Structured AI and let the AIs actually work together. I think it's very underestimated how much integration you can do in Structured. And I've missed it even the last couple of days, or I couldn't even get away from it for about a day, because I was like, should I focus on just Grok? Should I focus on less on any of it? And I'm like, I can't even really get away from the ease of integration and customization and personalization and the design and all of that you get with Structured. And I've been bonding with family more over this as a result, because I've been able to share this with them in design and share this as a teaching method to show and actually let them in the way that my planner works a little bit, so that they can decide a little bit. I don't enforce it. Like, we don't do this every day, but I do as a teaching method. I've let them kind of take the phone and say, well, maybe we should move this over here and do this. Can we do this around this time instead? And I've said, yeah, this is how cool this is to design, and just as a teaching way to teach and bond, because I've seen it growing up in my own household, but we never really sat down because things would get so busy. We would do this stuff. I never realized how creative as an art form I really enjoyed doing this. We would sit down somewhat and do some of the journaling and reading aspects growing up, and some of the writing and communication with other people. But learning a planner, I always felt like was changing all the time. And I felt like before we went digital, without meaning to, of course, this kind of thing with having a planner and like really organizing life was kind of gate kept from people who didn't work with paper more. And I did learn to work with it in a lot of different ways, whether it was paper or a PDA at the time or whatever it is. But that's what I've always sort of fought to understand within myself. And I think for a lot of you, you're interested in having a system. You're not interested in being nagged or being so much. And that's what Structured planner gives me, and any of the Apple and Google apps can give you the same kind of integration depending on the device that you have. So I'm not necessarily like, it's not like I'm getting paid to promote Structured, but I do feel that in a case like with Structured, you almost get this huge advantage. It makes you want to integrate your life, and it kind of helps a lot. Like, I'm using it a lot more now than I did starting out 2-3 years ago. And they've been extremely generous on like respecting longtime customers. And they're a little bit quiet on social media sometimes. They're a little bit quiet in updates, but the more you use like Structured AI, the more it will get to know you and update in the background. And I just can't wait to see how that will advance next year. And they tend to have seasonal updates, which is really cool. Even just reading something that comes up, like an article that they wrote in the App Store or a blog post, as the seasons change, they want to help you integrate your health more. And I'm still learning that. It's a process. The other apps that might work alongside Structured that helps you track to be more disciplined with what apps you use, I don't necessarily think that that is something I necessarily need. I've kind of learned to do that just by being more present in the moment. But I think it's really cool for those of you who want to track that with an app like OneSec that integrates with Structured, where they've kind of co-created it together. And then the app, if you have trouble waking up in the morning, you've got an actual app called Awake. I don't have trouble waking up in the morning. I have a body clock, and I'm working to learn the system within my body every day to wake up. But if you do need it, it's there. But at least these things are optional. Like, where do you want to take your planner? And even with the Apple and Google apps, you can decide how you integrate, what you integrate, and what you choose to do, and mix and match and things like that. But for me, I like to integrate it into an all-in-one planner, as they've sort of designed it for the developers. And they've even incorporated the sounds, but I don't use the sounds for everything. But I do find the sounds extremely useful on one-off tasks or things throughout the year that come up, that like yearly errands or yearly holidays that matter to our week, or maybe some things one-off that will come up through the month that need a sound indicator, like just so you're not looking at the screen all day. So I'm sort of letting you know all of this to say that this stuff really integrates, and it really is kind of cool. It's a cool way for you to understand what's going on. It's very forefront. It keeps everything in the focus. And you can even focus and expand and go even more present with a focus timer, which I've done and found that useful. I do that from time to time when I feel like it's nice to have that in front of me, that layout of like a huge, like a table layout, or like a page layout in front of me, or just this focus timer, like a little page with a countdown timer. It's really nice. But it's kind of like how much this has advanced. I've been working really hard in training Structured AI to meet my needs personally, and that's what I love about it, is it's very personalized in that way, and feeds my artistic expression in planner design in a way that is not too time consuming, and definitely is worth paying for, but is not, I wouldn't say it's a waste of money at all, because they don't really demand too much. And as far as with Grok, I feel like they're very generous of what they give you, to the point where I'm stepping back from premium because they're giving me so much. And I can actually contribute to Grok through training now, and data and all that kind of stuff, rather than just like having to beta test all the time, or having to worry about, pay for this, pay for that. I can actually contribute to Grok in more of a mission effort that is a lot more valuable with the data and experience that I can give. So that's really fun. And just showing you guys and sharing with you guys and seeing how you guys are impacting AI, like that's been really fun. And I'm really happy to see a lot of you using it, whether you're using AI that is more for you, like Claude. I know some of you in my channel here have told me that you use Claude in our AI community where we met. So that's been cool. All that kind of stuff. And you know, I'm really curious to learn more about how you're using your system and integrating it. So, but either way, I'm excited and just really grateful that we have this in our life to integrate things, and it's really helping me to manage even the deeper projects that are in the inbox, because then it kind of reminds me of like creating systems that go beyond just goals, especially when it comes to budgeting or work, or when it comes to business, when it comes to relationships and managing relationships and showing up for others better and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's kind of it. I'm excited to move forward and keep going with this. And I hope that you find what works for you and that this helps you to consider highly why you'd want to put time into any of it. Why just having a system in front of you that integrates like this can just help make things more efficient, more automated, more in front of you, and can help you have everything that matters right in front of you. That's really what it is, having the present moment, having your life in front of you. And in an artistic design. So, hope this gives you a way of thinking about this that is a little bit differently than your typical productivity episode.